Good afternoon. My name is Ram Bhatia. I'm a trust and I'm chairing the meeting in the absence of village president Beverage, who is excused. I call the village of Mount Pleasant Village Board meeting on January 8, 2024 at 6:01 p.m. And roll call, please.
Anastasio,
Here.
Washburn,
Here.
Hewitt,
Here.
Venturini,
Here.
Doxey,
Here.
Bhatia.
Here. Pledge of Allegiance. Next item on the agenda are the public comments, and I want to say that we have two items on the agenda. One is the public comment, which is now, and members of the public are welcome to provide comments on any matter. Please listen for not the president but the chair to recognize you, state your name and the address for the public records, and comments are limited to 3 minutes. I want to add that in the agenda under new business, we also have the public hearing on the ordinances. If any of you is here to speak on any of those, rezoning, for the rezoning. So if any of you is here to speak on the rezoning, please hold your comment. We will invite you to speak when that item come on the agenda. Okay? So with that, in public hearing, we have the forms over there, and anyone who wants to speak on anything else except for the rezoning, please fill your form, bring it to the clerk, or bring it to me, and I will recognize you. Right now, I have a few forms, and I'm going to start one by one. Please, when I recognize your name, please go to the podium, use your name and address, and then you have 3 minutes. Number one form I have is from Stephanie Colgan. Stephanie?
Thanks for choosing me first. This is Stephanie Colhagen, 8316 Dora Lane. In my 23 years of service with this village, there have been countless EEOC complaints and lawsuits filed and lost due to the actions of past administration. In 2015, the village insurance company hired Lori Lubinsky to address the village board and employees of improper acts in the village. This resulted in a personnel manual rewrite, which put in place safeguards to protect employees against administrative abuses. In 2020, this village removed those safeguards during an August 24th, 2020 village board meeting. The changes were glossed over and suggested that the board only hear a Cliff Note version of the changes. This resulted in the removal of those needed protections. One more notable change was removing the appointed rights for the village clerk treasurer. This goes against state statute, the League of Municipalities, and the village code. These changes in this village were set back by removing those. Going back to days of constant fear, and you, the board, are accountable. It seems that more changes are heading your way without employee input. Who are these changes benefiting? If I'm being abused by another employee in a village or a company, the changes proposed would not allow the employee to document such abuse. How is this fair? You, the elected, are showing the residents that employees do not matter. I did not matter. And employees don't matter, and residents do not matter. Then why are you here? Stand up, use your words, use your voice. That's why you were elected. Be unpopular and do what's right, or step down, or be voted out.
Thank you, Stephanie. Next, I have a form from a Maria Ramos.
Maria Ramos here?
Ramos? Yeah.
Yes.
She's there.
Oh, there you go.
Good afternoon. I'm here regarding the 2145 Mead Street. I live at 2229 Racine Street. Regarding the license for the beer. I'm not against any small businesses. It's just that bringing more liquor, more beer, we've had issues in our neighborhood regarding many setbacks. And I believe that I know one person here probably is not going to make a difference, but we don't want that in the neighborhood. I mean, a nice store would be nice with, going to the grocery store and buying, our stuff that we need versus going all the way to Piggly Wiggly. But having liquor, we have a bar, we have enough liquor, we have a gas station that sells beer. Why more liquor in the neighborhood? Thank you.
Mr. President,
Thank you, Maria.
for these, can we have everybody please list their village or city they live in? It's just, I'm getting addresses.
Yes, I
And this happened last time. And last time, when we had all the people that came in for public comment, 11 were out of Racine and 3 were only out of Mount Pleasant, and this affects Mount Pleasant. I think it's fair
Yes,
we hear
do.
what city
We
they're
do.
from.
And we do have policy, and I did say that, please state your name and address, and the address should
Including-
include, yeah,
Municipality.
municipality, yeah. Thank you, trustee Doxy. Next one I have on my list is Savannah Colligan. Again, please, name, address, and the municipality you live in.
My name is Savannah Colhagen. I live at 6651 South Park Edge Circle in Franklin, Wisconsin. Good evening. My name is Savannah Colhagen, and I'm here to discuss a matter of grave concern regarding my mother, Stephanie Colhagen, and the distressing treatment she has received from the village administrator, Maureen. I wish to emphasize that the views that I am stating are my own and are based on the treatment that I have watched my mother go through the past few months. From a young age, I had a privilege of understanding the value of local governance thanks to my mother's unwavering commitment to public service. This understanding deepened as I grew up and volunteered within my own community. I became an advocate for engaging with local government among my peers. However, the recent unsettling events within the village of Mount Pleasant have profoundly shaken my faith in this institution. I stand before you deeply troubled by the seemingly authoritarian practices that have taken root here, spearheaded by the village administrator. It's particularly alarming to see the administrator's attempt to alter the personnel manual, thereby centralizing power and undermining the rights of appointed officials. The atmosphere of intimidation and hostility that has been created with our municipality is unacceptable. It's troubling to learn that employees like my mom fear unjust aggression from a supervisor who is unable to separate personal vendettas from professional responsibilities. A perfect example being the lies told directly by the administrator and her own appointed lawyer to my mother, stating that this board had already called for her resignation when no such thing occurred. The administrator, Maureen, then used the threat of losing my mom's severance money, which, by the way, was my mom's only ability to care for herself and her home without this job, if she challenged her termination further as a means to force my mom into resigning, a decision that she did not want to make. Also, she removed my mom's ability to go through the proper channels to have this information heard and discussed. We are here today because of Maureen's failure to this village. I am deeply disheartened by the oversight of diligent service my mother has provided to this village for over 2 decades. It is concerning that there seems to be a lack of interest in understanding all sides of this situation. The disregard for due process, a right for all citizens, is alarming. In closing, I urge the board to reflect on the information presented tonight, particularly concerning the actions of the village administrator. Our village integrity and the well-being of its dedicated constituents are at stake. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Ram, if I could, do you mind if I make a statement?
I was just wondering if we want to make, in case if we have any more public comments.
I can wait until the end if you'd prefer. I defer to Chris as the village
Okay, yeah,
attorney.
please go ahead. Please go
Just as a matter for the record for the future public commenters, and I won't reiterate this, I just wanted to state it once, it's just a factual statement. Ms. Colhagen was afforded the right to legal counsel and had it throughout this process. I do believe that's important to just state. Additionally, she was not forced to sign any agreement, as any individual is able or not able to. She chose to sign an agreement that was voluntary and led to her resigning from the village. Additionally, that option was given to her after some significant performance concerns were identified, including the overpayment of tax money in the form of 6 figures to local municipalities that was not discovered except for another staff member. Ultimately, at that point, given the option to go through a process that might have resulted in discipline, and she chose to sign the agreement. So I just wanted to state that basic factual resuscitation for the record. And at this point, I'll yield the floor back to you, Ron.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yes, absolutely. My name is Ryan Hayden. I'm with the law firm of Ombrisen and Roper.
Ryan is the labor attorney.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. I've been retained by the village. Yep.
Okay, next I have on the public comment is Bruce Sheffe. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, Bruce. Your name, address, including municipality, please.
Yeah, I live in 4937 90th Street, right across where they're building a new Microsoft building. Since day one, there have been trucks entering and leaving that property who use their engine brakes, which sounds like this, in front of my house each and every day from 6 o'clock in the morning till they close. I've talked to the people across the street and talked to one of the supervisors, and he told me that the trucks companies are emailed or faxed or whatever it is every morning how many they need, and they're supposed to keep the noise down. Then a couple months went by, I get a letter from Microsoft itself. Some lady in there says, we're concentrated on the noise. We want to be a good neighbor. That's the biggest line of BS I ever heard. I talked to her. I says, what are you going to do about the engine brake? That can be eliminated by an on-off switch. If you turn the light switch off, these lights go off. You turn the switch off in the truck. I have a CDL license. I used to be a driver. That noise goes away. So anybody that says it doesn't is full of BS. I talked to her. She talked to the supervisor across the street from Welch Construction, and they agreed that they would get no engine braking signs. It's been over a month. I still have the all day long. How would you like that if you lived there and heard that all day long? I'm not against that pounding. I lived on 2800 block of Taylor Avenue at 17th Street. They had the foundry there, and they did the molten steel. We heard that all growing up, and there wasn't nothing you could do about that. You learn to live with it. I never complained about wiping my windshield off all summer long so I could drive my car because there was so much dust. I never complained about stamping the ruts in my yard because the trucks enter in there and didn't have enough room because they were entering right across from my house. Now they have the entrance down, which is much nicer. But I had to stomp them down, so I cut the grass in front of my house. And then I was told there would be signs. It's like talking to dead air. Nobody should have to hear in front of their house any time of the day or night. I have to leave my house because of the noise. I'm not complaining about the boom, boom, boom. I heard that growing up. That's progress. I didn't complain about the dirt on my cars every day. I didn't complain about the ruts in my yard, but I'm complaining about noise that can be stopped by a turn and a switch on or off. And having no engine brake signs on 90th Street, which the speed limit is only 40 miles an hour. That's designed for going down mountains so you don't overheat your brakes. It puts exhaust back into the intake and it slows the truck down. The trucks who are using that have bad brakes, don't belong on the road, and have no business going in and out of Welch construction site. And I don't know what you're going to do about it.
Well,
I filled out a form and they already put it in as a noise complaint, but this has been going on for 6 months. 6 months since you approved that project. I'm all for approving that project, because before that I had to stop people from dumping shit in there all the time. Excuse my English. I go there with my phone, I'm taking a picture of your license plate. You either pick that stuff up, get it out of here, or I'm calling the cops because I talked to one of the police officers. I was sick of it. It was nothing but a dump site.
So thank you for your comments. We hear you, and I'm pleased to hear that you already have filed a complaint. I'm going to direct your.
But this has been going on for 6
Yeah.
months.
I'm going to ask our administrator to.
I talked to the construction company. I talked to
Sir.
Microsoft. That's why I came here. I tried to go up the channel. But that's unacceptable. I shouldn't have to leave my house because of.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Our village administrator
It's
will.
not comments, it's fact.
No.
I'm sorry,
My
I'm not
comment-
trying to be smart, Alex,
No,
sir.
Sir,
It's fact. If you had to deal with that all day long, you'd be like me.
I probably would be, and please,
Yes, as we
Yeah,
talked
Michelle.
before the meeting, this is the first time that we're hearing of the complaint. I know you've addressed it to Walsh Construction and to
And
Microsoft. Yes,
And I was told
And-
over a month ago, there would be signs, and there's still no signs.
and you've come to the right place. That
Okay, thank you.
complaint is in our process, and we'll make sure you talk to Captain Stroop. We have your complaint, and we'll address it with you.
Sorry about you hearing that horrible noise I hear
that's
every
okay.
day. And Saturday, there was a truck from where the bridge goes over the railroad track. It's a half a mile from there to the stop and go light. He had it on completely all the way down there. And then from the corner all the way to the new driveway, which is another 6/10. So a mile and a half, we heard that. And it said 007 on the side of the truck.
Your complaint is in the right location. Neither Walsh nor Microsoft can put signs out there. This is something that the village will consider.
But they told me they were going to take care of it.
And I'm glad that you came tonight, and we've got it in the right
Thank you.
place.
We'll
You're very
address it.
welcome. Thank you.
thank you, sir. Next, I have a form from Joe Gleason.
Joe Gleason, 8332 Door Lane, Mount Pleasant. I have some questions. Is it true that the administrative staff of this village believes that the village board members are morons and not smart enough to make a decision on their own or without direction? Is it true that any resident of this village who reaches out to a board member for information, questions, etc., are directed to administrative staff to send the resident to village administrative staff for the answers?
No.
I guess I don't understand why you are not able to respond to said residents. Oh, I'm sorry, you're all morons. If, as a board member, you are not able or willing to devote the time and energy to the needs of the citizens of that you represent, then resign. Because your job is to run this village in a professional manner, and that is not happening. Why is every vote on this board 7-0? I am confused as to why you are not allowed to think on your own or dissent on a vote. Why are your motions written for you? Are you unaware of how a village board works? They should not be pre-written. That's not how it works. And I'm beyond embarrassed by this board for their lack of initiative to look at all of the items brought before them for a vote. This is your job. You don't get to hand this job off to your administrator. Your village president has clearly stated, I have heard him say it, that they hired the village administrator to run the village so you all don't have to. Guess what? I didn't vote for her. I voted for you. And if you can't do your job, then step down. Why are we now splitting the clerk treasurer position and it's going to cost more money? Why are we having 2 communication employees for a village this size? I am sick and tired of my tax dollars going to unnecessary positions at high wages. How many new positions have been created in the last 5 years? Really? Why? I am spending more money on my taxes every year. Oh, again, because the village board president has stated that his intention is to raise the taxes as often as he can, as high as he can, for as long as he can. I don't want to pay for all your crap. You should be running a lean village. Why do we no longer have a finance or a personnel committee? There's no oversight to what you're doing. You go into the committee of the whole meeting, You discuss this stuff, and then you come in here and you vote on it. You've already decided. That's not open. That's what this meeting is for, not the committee of the whole. Start doing your job. Elections have consequences.
Thank you, Joe. Next, I have a Vicky Kuiper. Kuiper, I'm sorry, Vicky. Name, address, including the village, please, a municipality.
I'm Vicky Kuiper, 1831 Ryan Road, and I urge or demand that the board look into the administrator's actions and the personal manual.
Would you please, Ryan Road, Village and Municipal, complete address, please.
1831 Ryan Road, Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin.
Thank you. Next one I have is David Nelson. David? At the podium,
Are you
please.
here for the zoning issue, sir? Okay.
No. Zoning issue will be, when we come to the
We'll
agenda.
we'll call you when you get to that, okay?
This is the last sheet I have for the public comment period. If anyone else has, you still have the time if you want to fill, otherwise I'm going to call this last comment by David Nelson.
Well, no, he's.
Okay, so that's for that. Okay, again, these are the only people who signed to speak at the public comment, and unless anyone has anything else to say, I'm going to close the public comment period.
There's one back there.
I'm sorry.
Somebody raised their hand.
You raise your hands, please. Yeah, please. Come to the podium. Please state your name, address, and the municipality, and maybe after you speak, please fill the form and give it to the clerk, please.
My name is Ed Burgess. I live at 2717 Hanlon Drive.
Sir, are you going to speaking about the zoning?
I am about to run out of air, battery in my oxygen
Okay.
maker.
Okay, sure.
My property is, first of all, I've been in that property for 47 years. I would like to thank Mr. Spodek, who bought that property next door to me, for making it look like it does now. I was tired of, for the past 25 years, I've lived next to a junkyard that you guys couldn't get cleaned up from the old owner. I'm the only one that I know of within 300 feet of that property that didn't get notification of this meeting. I have never gotten any notice in 46 years of changes of zoning. A couple of years ago, I came in here, talked to the commissioner trying to find out what it's zoned now, and he wouldn't even tell me. He just told me that it's none of what it was 46 years ago. I just want to make sure that when Jim's able to sell it and somebody wants to develop it, that we have a little bit of input. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Okay, again, as I said, I don't have anyone else who filled the form or expressed to speak, so the public comment periods are closed, and now we move on with our rest of the agenda. Next item is the consent agenda.
Mr. President, I make an,
John, before you make the motion, please, we are going to delete, remove the item 11 on the consent agenda. So I request that please in your motion include only items 1 to 10,
I make a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
except item 11 as published. Thank you.
I second the motion to approve the consent agenda with the elimination of item 11.
Okay, we have the motion and the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, consent agenda is approved. Under new business, now we are talking about the zoning and the ordinances. Item number 1 is the public hearing. So we're going to go through the process of the public hearing for each item. Those who wish to, we will recognize the public who wants to speak in favor or against. And then we'll close the public hearing, and then we'll go on the discussion of the board and the, for the ordinance. So item number 1, I'm opening the public hearing for ordinance 27-2023, which is a proposed zoning map amendment related to 3901 South Old Green Bay Road. The following rules applies to this public hearing and each of the following public hearing scheduled for tonight. If you wish to speak, please fill out a public hearing form, which I think many of you have already done that. Once recognized, the speaker should come to the podium and identify themselves with the name, address, and the municipality. Please speak clearly into the microphone, and speaker must direct all discussion toward the board. I will not allow interchange between members of the audience and the speaker. Please do not interfere with or interject comments while another person has the floor. Please keep all comments on the particular item before the board and no longer than 5 minutes. And please finally turn off or mute all your phones or electronic devices if you have. So we are going to have a public hearing on item number 1 for the ordinance 27-2023, Old Green Bay Road, ZMA-23-10. Sam, you want to jump in and give the overview of the item, please?
Sure. Village Board, Primstone Residential LLC applied to amend the zoning map for approximately 34.31 acres between Old Green Bay Road and Royal Oaks Drive. The applicant wishes to construct a 213-unit moderate-density development with 77 detached houses and 135 townhouses. The applicant applied to amend the map from limited ag, which is AG1, to moderate-density residential, which is RM1. This map amendment and subsequent development would support the village's goals reported through its findings in the housing affordability analysis, including increasing supply to address the village's low vacancy rates and increasing housing options. The application relates only to the property zoning. Any future development on the property would require a land division application and site plan reviews. The village staff will also emphasize the importance of connecting the 3 existing stubbed roadways, 1 north and 2 east, to Old Green Bay Road and Braun Road as shown on the conceptual site plan. These connections should provide better traffic circulation, public safety connectivity throughout the neighborhood. And I just want to reemphasize that again, this is only in relation to the zoning. So the question the village board is asked tonight is RM1 the appropriate zoning for this parcel? Again, any site plans or land division documents would have to come back to the Plan Commission and Village Board.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah. I'm sorry, are you done?
No, sorry, just a
I'm sorry,
couple
go
more notes. In terms of this goes through the zoning map amendments procedure of the zoning ordinance, which is Division 90-530. There is a the fiscal impact would be completed upon the completion of applications for land division and a formally submitted site plan. Subsequent plans are required to fully capture the fiscal implications of the intended project, as this document pertains to the zoning map amendment alone. Neither the village staff nor the Plan Commission recommend any conditions for approval, and the village staff and the Plan Commission recommend the village board moves to approve the ordinance 27-2023.
Thank you, Sam. So with that, now I'm going to open public hearing for ordinance 27-2023, zoning map amendment ZMA-23-10. And first I'm going to they don't say how far or against. How are we going to say that? Doesn't matter. Okay. Number 1, again, all the rules that I read, the rules apply. Please come to the podium, state your name, address, and the municipality, and please speak are you for or against this public hearing, for this item on the agenda? So number one again is David Nelson.
I think he spoke. Is he?
David Nelson, 5824 Bron Road. I'm not here to talk about, I'm not for or against this proposal, because I don't know enough about it. But I want to make you aware of the fact that behind my house, just slightly offset, but causing problems, is a depression that in the wintertime, the snows melt in the spring, and it fills up with water. I've seen it go out a football field of water sitting there on that field. I don't know how you can build on that area. Just bringing it to your attention that I'm looking at the map and I don't see you're making allowance for that fact. It's a problem. I hope your zoning and the plans will take that into account. I've heard that that there may be a pond made there. Maybe that's the solution. I don't know. I need more information. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Matthew Peterson.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Peterson. I'm at 4129 Wood Road in Mount Pleasant. I am opposed to the rezoning. I think it should be a requirement that at least 1 or 2 acres of this be zoned for public use, such as a playground, park, green space, or wetland of some nature. I think we need to reserve some of our village land for our posterity and ensure that future generations have open space. The proposed plan, only public space, is a private clubhouse and tennis court, which I'm sure my neighborhood kid's not going to be able to play in. So I am opposed to the rezoning, and I think if we do rezone it, it should be actually single-family houses and not townhomes.
Thank you, sir. Walter Winterly.
My name is Walter Winterly. I live at 2617 Hanlon Drive in Mount Pleasant. And it's with Mr. Spodek, who wants to rezone from Hanlon Drive all the way to MM. He's done a lot. He cleaned up the property.
Oh, this is a different.
When the Quonset hut that was in the...
Sir, we'll call you when we get to this rezone
Well,
item.
you call me.
Right, and we couldn't tell which rezoning item you wanted to speak at.
We have 3 rezoning item, and right now we are going on the item number for the.
Yours is the next one, okay?
Green, yeah, okay, so put the form.
Yeah,
So we
I'll
don't
get
forget
that
it.
here.
Maybe we
This
should
one
add
too.
that.
This one
ZMA
too.
2311. ZMA 2311. These are all next one.
Good job. Remember your thoughts.
Ordinance 27.
one.
Okay. On this ordinance, then we have Ken Rowe.
Oh, Highway 38.
Hi, my name is Ken Roach. I live at 6027 Biscayne Ave in Mount Pleasant. My property backs onto the proposed area that's being proposed for rezoning. I'm opposed to that rezoning right now. The plans that I've seen talk about building units in there, single-family homes and townhomes with a density of almost 6.2 units per acre. If you look at the existing subdivision that I live in right now, All the lots are between a quarter and a third of an acre. Some are actually go up to a little over 1 acre. My next door neighbor actually has a little over an acre. So the existing density on those properties is somewhere around about 3. That's half or less than half of what's being proposed to go in there. We don't need that high a density of people. It's going to change the composition of the neighborhood. It's going to change the character of the area. And so we're opposed to that from that standpoint. The second thing, of course, is the traffic that's going to be coming out onto Biscayne. Biscayne is a single, 2-lane road, one lane in each direction. One of the main access points is right past there. We're going to have a huge flow of traffic past that on Biscayne Ave, right past my front door, if this rezoning goes through and if the development goes through as planned. So I'm opposed to that. I'd like to have the village look at this. I don't know if there's another option for zoning to go single-family homes only. That would be much preferable to putting in townhomes with such a high density. That's my comments.
Thank you, sir. Next on this item is Michael Jaworski.
Good evening. My name is Mike Jaworski. My wife and I live at 5951 Regency Hills. It's in Mount Pleasant.
Sound good.
We have been there for 26 years now, almost to the day. We've raised our family. All the boys are now gone, but we are against the zoning. And the reason for it is simply the density is far too great compared to the subdivision that currently exists. I'm concerned about the basic economics here. I'd like to know from the board who this is supposed to favor. I know it'll be the general answer, the community at large. I believe everybody within a mile of that property will be disenfranchised, either by virtue of taxes, safety, or just the well-being of the area itself. I do think that if it was single-family homes that kept the same density, we would be all in favor of it. But the townhomes simply introduce a different demographic, introduce a different economic, and will change the culture in the area. So my wife and I, and almost everybody I have talked to, is against this zoning. I really wish you to reconsider what this builder would be allowed to put on there. Thank you.
Ted Snigowski, I hope I didn't mispronounce your name. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Ted Snigowski. I and my family live at 3627 Providence Drive, Mount Pleasant. And we also oppose this rezoning of the area. I live next door to Mike Jaworski. We've grown families in this community for the last 26 years together. We've seen people come, we've seen people go, but the basic neighborhood has remained the same. If you introduce this kind of high density, and I know you call it moderate density, it's high density when you sit and do the numbers. This type of high density homes, it will forever change what we moved to Mount Pleasant for. I want everybody on this board to remember, we've paid taxes in Mount Pleasant for the last 26, 27 years. We have voted in every election for the last 26 or 27 years. There were comments made earlier about the board. I don't know that to be true yet, but let's hope on this issue you prove not to be morons. Thank you.
What a fine day I chose to chair this meeting. Deborah Hickey?
Porch review. And just so you know, it wasn't just our Regency neighborhood that signed this. I reached out to the Rolling Hills subdivision and the Regent subdivision to get other feedback as well. but it's all Mount Pleasant individuals for your review. So what I'm going to do is now just read my petition to you. Dear Mount Pleasant Village Board, I am writing to express my strong opposition along the undersigned residents of our neighborhood to oppose the amendment to change the zoning map for the 34.41 acres located between the Old Green Bay Road and Royal Oaks Drive. Specifically, we are against the construction of the 213-unit moderate density development in our community. Our neighborhood is characterized as a unique charm, tranquility, and a sense of our community. Our proposed development is the density and scale pose a threat to the character and quality of life we have enjoyed for many years. We believe that such development would have an adverse effect of traffic congestions, environmental impacts, and overall community aesthetics. Furthermore, the residents of our neighborhood are concerned about the strain of the existing infrastructures, including schools, utilities, and emergency services. The proposed development could lead to overcrowding in our schools, increased traffic congestions on the roads, and potential strains in our public services, all of which would negatively impact the well-being of our community members. We are concerned about the introduction of the townhouses, specifically for the form of them being rentals. And before this meeting, I was able to sit down and listen to the developers, and they also did mention those single-family homes are also going to be rentals. So it's not just like all 213 are going to be rentals, and now that is a larger concern on my part. Potentially, this will disrupt the stability and character of our community. The reservations stem from the potential impact of the rental properties on the neighborhood's dynamic property values, overall community cohesion, and the fear of an influx of rental properties may lead to the transient population, increased overturn, the lack of long-term investment in maintaining the quality of our community. Additionally, we are concerned the potential for the decrease of property values that the rental market becomes dominant in our neighborhood. Home ownership has been a cornerstone of our community, and the introduction of a larger number of rental units could potentially compromise the investment and pride in homeowners have maintaining the properties. As a responsible, committed member of our community, we strongly urge the Village Planning Department and the Village Board to reconsider the proposed zoning maps amendment and take into account the concerns and objections raised by the residents of this neighborhood. We believe that development should be in harmony with the existing community, and the proposal projects, as it stands, is not the best interest of our neighborhood. Enclosed, as you have, is the letter and then the signed signatures from the residents. Please take, so I am against this, and I hope, if anything, it is single-family homes and that it's not rental single-family homes. Thank you.
One more on this ordinance, and Zog.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ann Zog, and my husband Mark and I live at 3930 Royal Oaks Drive in Mount Pleasant. And I came here prepared to say something else, but I got here early and I got to meet the developer. And my blood pressure, which is normally low, is kind of high, so forgive me if I sweat or I turn all red. We listened to your meeting on December 20th, which we did not know about. Mark and I did last night before the Packer game. And I don't know if you took a vote, but it kind of felt like you did on things you were getting feedback on tonight. I hope that didn't happen, but I want all my neighbors to know that's not okay. You need to ask us before you vote on stuff like this. So communication, let's just check on it. So Mark and I are definitely against this zoning, whatever we're going to call it. We live on Royal Oaks, and so this development backs into our property line. These are all rental units. We did not know that when we got here tonight, even the single family. And I do not like that idea, and I can't imagine any of my neighbors do either, so please don't allow that to happen. Some of the research Mark and I did from the American Community Survey suggests that zip codes with a higher density see property values drop by as much as 14% or more. I just retired and will sell the house in the next 10 or 20 years. That's part of my retirement. Don't mess with my retirement. You're not going to get my vote if you do that. So I want to continue to see families like ours raise our children in a safe and warm, welcoming, close-knit community as we've had for the last 23 years. So please don't approve this. Thank you.
I don't have anyone else signed up to speak on this issue. Do you have one?
No, we're supposed to fill out a forms to speak, but I would like to speak if I
Yeah, please come to the podium, your name, address, and the municipality, and then you can fill up the form later and give it to the clerk.
Good evening. My name is Connie Ziccarelli. I'm at 3840 Royal Oaks Drive. I was on Royal Oaks Drive in 2001 when I moved in. And the reason I bought the property is because at that time, every neighbor had space. Every neighbor had a yard. There were no sidewalks and there were no lights. It was living in the country, but in the city. So I've been there this long and I have watched that field, and I'm very fond of that field. I've watched it grow, I've watched it turn over crops, and I've raised my family there. What is being proposed will absolutely change the shape of our area. The developer that wants to put this in, and of which I did not know you could attend a meeting before this, or I would have been there. That's not right. But if you do more research about this company builds to rent. They don't build to own. This Mr. David Trindall, he lives in Lake Forest, Illinois. Has anybody been to Lake Forest? There's no rental property in Lake Forest. Mount Pleasant should be like Lake Forest. It does not have the infrastructure to hold this. It does not have the shopping. We're going to build Woodman's up the road. That in and of itself is going to be quite a traffic pattern change. And there are many other areas in Mount Pleasant that are already zoned for residential. Don't go giving away our agriculture space for this kind of development. There are other places in Mount Pleasant that this Mr. Trindall could go look at. But his company neighbors are called Build to Rent. That is what his company Primestone does. And that is not what this neighborhood needs. This neighborhood needs solid places that people own their property and raise their family. So I hope you all will listen to us with this beautiful piece of property and don't let it go and get ruined. And Mount Pleasant, our neighborhood, get ruined. It's kind of special. And I want Mount Pleasant to stay special. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, do you want to speak, sir? Please and again, for those of you who have not filled the form, please, even though I'm allowing you to speak because it's a public hearing, you can speak, but please after that, fill the form and give it to the clerk with your name and address.
Well, hello. My name is Benjamin Gordon, and I, like many of you other here, I live on Royal Oaks Drive. I live on the corner of Hillside and Royal Oaks at 4030. I am absolutely opposed to this resolution against the zoning. Back in 2015, my home was broken into, and items were stolen totaling over $5,000. Due to the density of the development that's going to happen in that field, I'm seriously concerned with the kind of people that it will attract. I was recently married this summer, and me and my wife, we want to start a family. And when we do have our children, I don't want to have to hang cameras and security lights in my backyard because of the people that live in the field behind our house. But that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
There
Do
should
you want
be
to speak
some-
on this?
Come up and speak and then fill out the form after. It's by the gentleman in the Packers jacket.
How are you guys doing? My name is Eddie Vinson. I live on 3900 Royal Oaks Drive. I am definitely opposed to this. When me and my wife bought over a $500,000 home, we did not expect a bunch of different properties to be built in the field behind us. I do have 3 children that we think about. We get up every morning and walk our dogs, and 90% of the entire neighborhood is retirees. Do you think that we want to hear all that noise? Do you think we want all of these other things happening? Absolutely not. Please do the right thing and not let this happen. Thank you.
Unless anyone else has one more hand.
They had to go make more copies too.
Hi, I'm Brianna LaLuz. My address is 5848 Braun Road. My husband and I bought our house here 2 years ago. We have children. And this zoning proposes building a road in between me and my neighbors, making our house a corner house. We absolutely purchased this home with intention of raising our kids in a nice country area. We didn't buy a corner house because we didn't want a corner house. Our taxes have gone up exponentially since purchasing our home. And I'm curious how much more they'll rise on account of this. We have a pool in our backyard, as you can see on that map. This provides no privacy for us at all whatsoever, and is a really, really big concern for our family, having that many rental units directly butting up to our property with a road in between us and our neighbors now. We are absolutely in opposition of this. Thank you.
All right, one more time, unless anyone else is for or against on this. I'm going to close. We have one more hand? We have 2.
2.
Please, after you speak, sir, and ma'am, after you speak, please do fill the form and give it to the clerk.
My name is Kelly Lancaster, and I live at 4626 Ridgecrest Drive. So as I told some of the neighbors that I met the other day, I kind of live the next farm over, the next field over, still in Mount Pleasant. As everyone spoke here tonight, I didn't have time to write out my paper, but the reasons I am against this rezoning is too dense of a population. All rental units does not fit the social economical status of the surrounding properties anywhere. I myself live a little bit, like a half mile away, I think, from it, and I'm worried about my well. The pollution factor of that many people in that area, there's wetlands in that farm, and no artificial wetland is 100% the same as the God-given wetlands that are developed all over the world. As someone else spoke of, the pride of Mount Pleasant, most people want to be here because it is more of a rural community. Yes, there has to be ways for jobs and farms and everything like that, but if it continues, the urban sprawl continues and takes away all the farms, Mount Pleasant will not be what Mount Pleasant is known to be. We will just become another city like other people moved into Mount Pleasant to get away from. So, that's all. Thank you.
Hi, Justin Hoff. I live at 5425 Wakefield Avenue, Mount Pleasant. I live in the cul-de-sac right next to Wood Road, on the very bottom of the hill. well, second one in where the stop sign is. And I guess I also just want to make a note that we have a connecting road between us and Georgetown that has already been rezoned to connect to Georgetown. Between that and this, we're pretty much being sandwiched in between several high-density areas. Also, my concern is why across the road right here, as you can see on the map that they have, why would that be zoned for single-family houses and not this be zoned for single-family houses as well? Why are we, they said that they built Summers. They also developed the Summers down on Kenosha, wherever that is. I forget what the road is. Either way, I mean, you can take a look at that as far as what you're going to expect to see being built in our neighborhood, which I'm not a fan of those. Those are 3-story buildings that are probably going to end up being built in our area. And even at the meeting before this that we had, they said there's going to be 2-3 stories for these townhouses. So that's what you're going to expect to see in this. And I'm thoroughly opposed to this rezoning for this high density area, and it should be single family homes. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'm going to close the public hearing on this ordinance 27-2023 rezoning for the Greenway Road.
I just have a question. When is the vote for this going to take?
Yes, I'm going to come to that, sir. There was a comment made earlier that board may have already voted. There must be some misunderstanding. This is the process. We have a public hearing. Until we have the public hearing, we don't vote. But with that, I'm going to invite our community development director, Sam, if you can update the public the whole process, please.
So the process for zoning map amendments, you can find in section 9.
Yes. Oh, he has a microphone, but he's coming here.
He'll come.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm the Community Development Director. Development Director, yes. The public can find the process for zoning map amendments in section 90-530.10. There's a figure there that shows the process that zoning map amendments go through. So there's a pre-application meeting with the staff. They file an application. Online, there's an application that you can file. The staff reviews that application to make sure they've submitted all the materials, it's complete. They pay a filing fee. The staff then review it on technical grounds and forward that recommendation to the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission then reviews that and makes that recommendation to the village board. When the Plan Commission makes that recommendation, we file a public hearing notice. So there's a reason why tonight is the public hearing versus the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission is reviewing kind of the technical matters behind the application. Does it comply with the comprehensive plan? Is there anything in the Parks and Open Space plan that we should acknowledge? Things like that. They then forward that application here, and they make the political legislative decision that's in front of you tonight, in fact, with the village board. So none of you missed the boat on anything. Literally, the thing that you're asking for is the thing that you should up tonight. That is kind of the political, legislative, public hearing portion of the approval process.
Sam, I think we should add one more thing. The developer came into this room. Lots of other items are on the agenda tonight. So we suggested that he meet with some of you that came a little early to discuss some. There was not a meeting of this body at all tonight. This is your opportunity to speak tonight. So that's what we were, that's up to the developer if he wishes to. But we certainly will make some space available in the building. It was just because there's a whole lot of items on the agenda tonight.
This isn't a question. This isn't a question and answer.
Okay.
So
very much so.
I want to also clarify. I want to clarify a couple other things. Firstly, this process applies to any zoning map amendment across the village. So there's a private property owner who owns the property and someone who wants to buy the property and is applying to amend the zoning map. The village is just calling balls and strikes here. This is the political process that they've gone through. So there's There's a private property owner who owns the existing property. So anyone can make an offer if they want to go buy it from them or do anything, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. The process that we're here to talk about is purely person X applied to zone this property RM1, should the village board approve it or not. That's all what we're talking about tonight. I want to clarify one other thing because a lot of people talked about it. This is not to invalidate any of your points. I understand your sentiment completely, but I want to make it clear to the village board that you cannot consider whether a property is rented or owned as part of your decision because the Wisconsin state statute says 66.1014, a political subdivision, which includes a village, may not enact or enforce an ordinance that prohibits the rental of a residential dwelling for 7 consecutive days or longer. So this village board cannot consider whether it is rented or owned. Someone could come in and build a low-density subdivision and rent the entire thing, and there's nothing this board could do to stop it because it's protected by state law. So all of your other comments regarding density or all of your other feelings, completely valid. I just want to make it clear to the village board that rent versus own is not something that the state statutes allow you to contemplate in your approval process.
Well, thank you, Sam. Again, sir, we had the public hearing.
Contemplate the density and the effects.
We had the public hearing, and every one of you spoke for or against, mostly in the case of against. Again, that's the process. So now that process is closed. So now the village board is going to do the deliberation, and to answer your question, now is the time that we are going to consider the motion. Thank you, Sam. Yeah.
I'll stay up here in case you have any other questions.
Okay, so now. We are going to
Trustee Baccia, I would like to make a motion to lay this item over, ordinance number 272023, the zoning map amendment for South Green Bay Road, until such time as the wetlands are delineated and shown properly on their site plan, until their site plan is improved and takes into account any number of the considerations that were heard tonight. And that's my motion.
We have the motion. Do we have a second?
Are we going to have discussion?
Yes, after we have a second, then we have discussion, and then we have to vote.
I'll second that motion.
We have the motion by trustee Washburn and the second by trustee Venturini. Now is the time for the board to discuss and do the deliberations. So I will recognize whoever wants to jump in.
If you don't mind,
Yeah, please.
I would like to jump in. I sit on the Plan Commission with Trustee Baccia, and this was one of the first meetings. I've been in meetings all for years and years and years. This was one of the first meetings that I left that meeting and I realized I did the wrong thing. I voted to move it forward even though I was very concerned about, for the most part, the site plan. I have been working in the real estate industry in this village for almost 30 years. There are several things about the site plan that a lot of you have concerns over, and the village board may want to continue to discuss, but a lot of the access points, all of the access points that were shown on their site plan are access points that have been in the neighborhood plan for at least 30 years, since Regency Hills and Brown Road were created. That includes the area next to the home that you and your husband just purchased with the pool. Or no, do you have the pool? The other one had the pool. So that area there has always been a road reservation. It always was meant to be access into this farm field. But I also understand your concerns and the concerns of the residents, because what I consider this is an infill site. You have a property, when Mrs. Laker inherited this property from her father, I remember it well. People tried to buy it. There were developers all over the place that tried to buy it. It's no doubt in my mind that based on the uses in the area, that it needs to be a residential property, and it needs to be a residential project. Unfortunately, the difference between today and the day that they developed Royal Oaks Drive and Regency Hills subdivision by Mastercraft is that our zoning ordinances have changed. At the time that those original subdivisions were built, 75-foot, 100-foot front lots were the norm. In the market we're in today and the cost of construction that we're in today for the roads as well as the properties, you won't see those lot size widths. We won't be seeing those again. Those projects have been put aside. Having said that, though, I was very disappointed in the fact that the developer didn't come to the Plan Commission. Having presented projects myself all over southeast Wisconsin, I was absolutely astounded by that. We had no building types. We had a layout that obviously was just thrown on paper. And they also had never been able to hear what you all, as the residents that surrounding them, have to say. And they've obviously heard it now. So for my role as a trustee, our job, as Sam pointed out early on, the question we have before us tonight is zoning. I have no doubt in my mind that the zoning for this area should be residential. But I think that one of the areas that our zoning code is missing a little bit is in how we make those transitions in residential from an old use, a 75 or 100-foot wide lot, to the new zoning code, 40-foot lots, 60-foot lots, 2-unit side-by-side townhouses up against single-family residential. In our commercial code, in our industrial code, we have those transitions spelled out. There are landscape requirements, fence requirements, setback requirements, all sorts of things. But we've never really, this is really truly, I've only been on the board now for 2.5 years, my second term, but this is the first time in many years that I've actually seen us kind of run into this kind of a situation. The new zoning code up against the old. So having said that, I will wrap up my statement here. I think that we do need to have the developer go back to the drawing board, come back to the neighbors, take into account everything that you've said. I'm glad, Sam, that you made the statement you did regarding the rental versus the home ownership. That is something that is very difficult for me as a trustee to swallow. I believe in home ownership. I believe that a lot of the rental properties that we have currently under construction are in the right place. So it is not, though, unfortunately, my job, nor does my job allow me the ability to render a decision based strictly on that. The question before us is what's the highest and best use for the property? And obviously, the highest and best use for that property is residential. I think it's up to the developer to take into everyone's comments into consideration and account and come back. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Trustee Washburn. Anyone else has any comments? Yes. No, sir. I'm sorry. I apologize, but we had a public hearing, and so now this is the time for the board. I really apologize for that.
All right, this is in regards to tabling this. And I'm against tabling this because I think we need to kill the rezoning and have them take it from moderate density to a less dense zone. I don't know why we need them to redraw this at this point. Redrawing this with the same level of zoning, what are they gonna do? They're gonna redraw the same thing in a different way. We need to limit this to something that's more conducive to all the people that came in here tonight and very diplomatically asked us not to put this in a higher density zoning. So I'm against tabling this, and I think we need to kill the zoning.
I would like to hear from Sam
Yeah, so would I.
Yes, I was going to ask if you
on
want
the
to comment on
moderate
that, Sam.
density, you know,
Difference in
the,
zoning,
what would be the option?
or lighter density.
So the Mount Pleasant residential zoning ordinance contemplates a variety of use types and lot sizes per building type and per zoning district. So there's not like a blanket single family and there's not a blanket two family or whatever. It's essentially an intensity based thing. So you go from low to high and there's like an increasing amount of allowance of building types as you go from low to high. So on the very low end, you have a state lot. Think like 5 acre, big lot, big home, right? You have minimum home sizes, materials requirements, like you're gonna build an estate home. The next rung up is low density. This is mainly single family and two family. This is where you'd find your kind of standard subdivision, across the village, and that allows for 1 and 2 family structures in a variety of building types. So, it could be 2 units on a lot that are detached. It could be 1 standalone single family home. It could be, kind of like an in-law suite in the back, but it's attached to a single family home. It allows for a variety of those things based on specific regulations. Moderate density 1 then adds the allowance for an additional number of attached units. So it allows townhomes or multi-unit buildings up to 6 units in the building. And the lot size requirements depend based on what building type is proposed there. It also allows cottage courts, so like a cluster of smaller homes around a shared common space, kind of common in areas where, for example, seniors want to share like a common central courtyard, but have like little individual units with shared parking in the back.
And that's moderate density 1?
That's moderate density 1. So that is what that zoning district would allow. As you go up past that, you start getting into like larger scale, 20 plus unit apartment buildings and condo buildings and things like that. But that's not what we're considering. So essentially what you have to remember is this allows for detached houses, 2 unit houses, twin houses. So basically 2 units stacked, 2 units side to side. And allows for townhomes up to 6 units or a multifamily building of up to 6 units. And then the lot size requirements vary depending on that. So when the village staff were reviewing the zoning district or the zoning across the site, they could propose and did propose townhomes in their draft site plan that you saw closer to Old Green Bay, and then the detached houses closer to the existing residential neighborhood. It's allowed within the same zoning district. But the residential densities and how you apply them would change based on zoning district. So to Trustee Doxey's point, if you all decided that you wanted something lower density, you could apply that to the entire site. You could also apply that to portions of the site. For example, if you wanted to say, we're okay with a little bit of higher density near Old Green Bay Road, but we want lower density near the existing subdivisions, you could give that direction to the applicant and say, here's something that we're willing to consider, but we're not interested in this. Something to keep in mind, though, is if you deny the zoning application tonight, for 1 year, the applicant cannot come back with an equal or more intense zoning district. So, something to consider. This is a legislative decision. It's your call. You have about the most authority tonight, barring those rent-own guidelines I already cited in state statute. It's truly how do you want to apply the zoning map districts.
Sam, what is the current zoning
Please,
for everybody on the peripheral right now?
It's a variety of zones across the peripheral.
What are they?
Sir, I have to interject respectfully because this is the time for the board. We had a long public discussion and I apologize, but that's the process and we have to follow the process. Otherwise, we will be, going to unfold.
Trustee Bakia, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
What are the various zoning
Sure.
in the area?
So to the east, you have a mixture of low density and estate lot. To the north, you have, in the southwest, you have some public zones. That's both the park and the church. Across the street, and to the west and to the south, you have some moderate density zones. That's the existing, the condo development to the south along Taylor Harbor. And then to the west, you have that memory care facility across Old Green Bay Road. And then you also have a public use across the street that is the fire station. And then south of that, you have an existing field that's zoned ag as well.
Then another question, you said earlier that they couldn't come back for a year to apply for a more,
An equal or more intense zoning district.
so they could ask for a lesser, a lighter.
Correct. And to be clear, there's not per acre targets in our residential zoning guide. So it's entirely conceivable that they could come back with a lower density zoning district and actually fit more units on the property.
Exactly.
Their use of townhomes would make that challenging, but there's not an equal one-to-one, like the zoning as it goes up that intensity ladder that I was talking about has some gray area in between to provide for some of that flexibility when zoning districts are adjacent to each other. So just because it would be RL1 doesn't mean it's going to be capped at exactly 3 units an acre or something. It depends on the site and the subdivision plat that someone would submit to the village, all the engineering requirements, the environmental requirements, the drainage requirements. It gets pretty complicated pretty fast on how many units you can fit on a property. I just want to make it clear there's not like a hard and fast density cap per zoning district.
Anyone else has any comment?
I have
Denise?
a question, Sam.
Sure.
So the developer made the zoning request, not
Yes.
the current owner?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's, for most of our applications, someone can sign off that they're an authorized representative. And most of the time, it's, you sign an offer to purchase, and it's contingent on, something in the offer to purchase, successful zoning, conditional use, it depends on the application. But we allow someone to apply as an authorized representative.
Can the village itself, the staff or whatever, change the zoning without?
The village board has the statutory authority to change the zoning. We would likely have to go through this entire process again to be the most transparent. Generally, for a field like this, we try not to, because if there's not an impending development, it's being used as ag. So we'd prefer that the existing zoning match its current use until it's planned to be zoned otherwise. So there are some properties that have had zoning for like decades that kind of inherited their zoning classification, but more often than not, we like the existing zoning to match what the property is actually being used as currently.
But if we decided to table it, that might be the opportunity to discuss that, or if we denied it, that
Yeah.
would be an opportunity for maybe the village to decide, as you said, that maybe some of the area might be moderate density and some of it might be, what's the other one?
Yeah, I would caution against the village taking the lead on that, just because it becomes a question of like, where do streets lie and how's that laid out? Like, unless the village literally was the developer in the case, I think that's not necessarily where we'd want to be, because it's a large, complicated parcel. It's not like a strict square, or there's not like direct blocks. You truly have to kind of build in the new roads. So I would caution against pre-applying that zoning at that, like, in that way.
Yeah, I'd like to add my comment that, as we heard, is the process is we hear from the public, we take your comment into consideration, but in my opinion, I tend to agree, I fully agree with the motion that Trustee Washburn has made. It gives us everyone an opportunity to go back to the drawing board and reassess work with the developer to see what the appropriate zoning should be, instead of we here deciding, because once you decide what the zoning is, you're stuck with that. And denying it, like we heard, 1 year, that means to me to kick the can down the road. 1 year from now, we could be in the, similar situation. For that reason, my thought process is that I think is
I'm thinking
good
I would
option.
prefer to, so if it's okay if I interrupt?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm thinking that it would be better to vote on it tonight.
That's what we're going to vote on the
I mean, not to
motion.
lay it on, I mean, we have to vote on whether we're going to table it or lay it, what is it called? Lay it,
Yes,
To table it,
we
I
have the
would prefer
motion.
not to table it. That's how I will vote. I would prefer
Okay,
to vote
right
on
now,
the zoning
right
itself.
now,
but-
right now, we have the motion and the second to table it. And by law, we have to vote on the motion. Right, Chris?
Yes.
Yeah.
Were you going to say something, Andrew?
Yeah, so, Sam, if another developer comes in the interim with a different plan that's more conducive to what the neighborhood already has set up, are they allowed to come in with a different plan at this point in time?
They would, within a year, no one can attempt to
Nobody
rezone the
can.
property to RM1
It's
or
punitive to the
greater.
property owner.
And the reason that is in the zoning ordinance is to prohibit someone getting denied and then say April election changes, a completely new board comes in and you redo the thing. It's to provide a little bit of breathing room between these types of decisions. That's.
If I might make a
Yes, please.
follow-up.
Yeah.
I think that going through many of the zoning situations I have over the years, denying a zoning is a very, very powerful vote. It was never, I think, your intention to say, no one should ever live behind me. I believe from the calls I've gotten, the emails I've gotten, what you want is a fair opportunity to be heard. You want the fair opportunity as residents to make sure that the site plan that's being proposed against you is not adversely affecting your properties. And I believe that I believe that you have actually held your neighborhood meeting for the developer.
Just never got the information until we talked to
That's
why we want to vote it down tonight.
I understand, and under our code, not all of you are required to be sent that information. That is something that typically a developer is gonna take upon themselves. We're coming into a new neighborhood, we're gonna have a neighborhood meeting, we know there's gonna be notices going out.
So that didn't happen.
So that didn't happen. Any developer that doesn't take into account today's technology, Facebook, the way that you all create your neighborhood communication, social media sites and so forth, is really underestimating the power of the people today.
We have to,
So having said that, I believe that denying the zoning is punitive to the property owner, not just the developer. Because now, we've agreed that the residential zoning is an appropriate, I shouldn't say we've agreed. I think we've expressed the fact that residential zoning is appropriate for this. They've not done their wetland delineations. There is absolutely nothing to say that after they've looked harder at this plan, they're gonna get the number of units that are on the one you've seen. This, to me, is really a concept draft, and because it's in a draft form that's not acceptable, I'm not willing to support the zoning. And I am willing, though, to see them come back with something that takes into account the comments we've heard tonight and uses our code in a more manageable way that is more compatible with the surrounding property owners. That's all, that's what I'm saying, but I think that denying it is, as I said, is a punishment.
well, again, as my role here is right now, we have the motion, we have the second, and by law, we have to vote on the motion, one way or the other.
Yeah.
So, John, did you have anything to add? No? Hearing none, roll call, please. Okay, again, the motion is to table it. So be careful, how you vote.
So just to clarify, if the motion to table fails, you'll have to consider a straight up-down vote for approval. Just this
And
isn't.
is there
There'll be a second round if this one fails.
and how long is a tabling to last?
Well, the motion
Okay.
was basically, the motion, the second was to table it until such time as the developer reworks their plan significantly.
Okay.
And so it would be submitted and then
It'll go back to the planning
So they
commission and the
come
whole
back when
process
they
will start
come back.
again.
So I have a question, Chris. I was the one who seconded the motion.
Yeah.
And after discussion, and trustee Doxey mentioned the lower density zoning, I'm apprehensive now to even vote in favor of what I seconded.
That's okay, you
That's
can do
okay.
that.
Okay.
You vote however you want to vote.
All right.
It doesn't
Again-
matter if you seconded it, it doesn't matter if you made the motion. After discussion, everyone has a right to vote the way they want to vote.
And I want to add that again, to echo what Sam said, motion to table, if the motion fail, it means by default we are approving, correct?
No.
No, that we
No.
have
It
to
means by
vote.
default, you need to vote on the actual ordinance.
Ordinance.
Then it's up or down on the ordinance, Ram.
Okay, then
Correct.
we have to go back and to have
Have
another
a motion and a
Okay.
second, yes.
Just want to make sure
But-
that everyone is clear.
Hey, I want to clarify this because this is something I don't think anybody out here understands either. And what Nancy said, if we table this, they have to go redraw this in a manner that's conducive to what you guys want in your area and what we approve of. And you already know that there's numbers of us here that are against what we see right now. If we vote for tabling, they get the chance to redraw it, or somebody else can redraw it. Come back and say, is this plan okay? If we don't table, but we just vote it down, nothing can be done at all with the land for a year, per what Sam said.
A zoning, no one can
There's
apply
no
for a
z-
zoning of
zoning
equal or
change.
more intense.
And that's punitive to the people who are trying to sell the property and probably, as ma'am, you mentioned, want to use it for retirement. You know, you get, who was that lady sitting down here? You're going to sell this and there's retirement money. The people who own this land are also probably looking to sell this. And in order for them to have the sale of this property and get the cash and use it for retirement, they need some type of zoning to pass.
But they can come back and ask for a lower
They can come back and ask for lower zoning.
Right.
They
So
can
now
come
that
back.
we understand that,
That's a good point, yeah.
yeah.
All right, with
May I-
that,
I'm sorry, Ram, I think based on trustee Doxey's comments, I've got another question for Sam. Well, because this is, zoning is critical. I mean, it's really not to be taken lightly by anybody. So, under our land use plan, the RM1 was absolutely an acceptable zoning in the neighborhood. They're talking about zoning it to a less dense zoning. That would take it down to RL1,
Or RL2, there's two.
or L1 or 2.
Yep.
RL1 allows for single family, it allows for townhouses.
No, it allows for single, here, I'll just read it directly.
Please.
It allows for, RL districts allow for detached houses, 2-unit houses, and twin houses. So it allows for a detached single dwelling unit, dwelling units that are stacked vertically, and dwelling units that are attached horizontally. That's what the RL districts allow. Oh, it also allows backyard cottages.
And it allows backyard cottages.
And that zoning applies to almost everyone who lives in an adjacent neighborhood. That is what zoning district you're under.
Yep.
And that applies to probably 50% of the residential property in the village. I would say
Lot width under the RL?
it depends on the specific RL district you get into, but it's generally somewhere between 40 and 120 feet, depending on what they apply for.
100, okay.
120 foot max. And an acre max. So it's a standard subdivision lot, think quarter acre subdivision kind of thing.
So it's possible, if this were to be laid over, that the developer, having heard this, could come back to us and reconsider their site plan and actually go ahead and draw in a combination of RL1 and RM1. And
Yes.
if they did that, would they have to rehear the project?
No.
Would there be another public hearing?
No, you are allowed to consider a lower intensity zoning without rehearing the full item.
Let's force that then. Okay, I'm ready.
So,
You're getting there.
huh? So my point is, by laying it over, as opposed to completely denying it, we can give them a sense of direction of what we're looking for. That they don't have to go through another public hearing. They need to be able to use a combination of zonings, and I would be happy to amend my motion to lay it over to include consideration of multiple zoning uses within the subdivision in order to protect the benefits of the people.
Right, Nancy, I get that, but if you kill it, you're forcing them to change the zoning to lower density, not hoping they change it.
Yeah.
But the problem is, Andrew, but the problem is that we cannot do it for 1 year.
If they change the zoning, they don't have to wait. They can change the zoning, come back, reapply, and we can pass it.
For lower density.
Within 1 year.
Lower density.
Lower density.
Anytime,
Make sure that,
yes.
okay.
Because it might help you with R01, R02, because there's too many. I'm in Wakefield Downs, Mastercraft did it, you got about 100 feet by 80 feet lots. Minimum of
This discussion
1,900
going on.
square feet that you could build on it.
These questions are raised by the trustees, so.
Do you want me to answer question,
please.
Mr. President?
Okay, that's the last
yeah.
question that we asked them, okay.
Most of those properties are zoned RL1. Now, I'll make a distinction. What your private covenants say is your minimum buildable home size is not a village ordinance. That is a private restrictive covenant. Yeah, so that would be RL1, some of the districts that we've talked about, or one of the districts that we've talked about. But to be clear, yes, restrictive covenants, when you bought your home, someone handed you a sheet of paper and said, has to be 1,900 square feet based on what the title says. That's not a village ordinance, that's a private deal that is on the title of your home. So they play together, but they're not exactly the same. But yeah, RL1 is the zoning classification in which your property is zoned.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, anyone else has any comments or concern? If not, again, we have the motion to table it. Let's have a roll call on that, and then we'll see where we go from there.
All right, Anastasio,
No.
Washburn,
Aye.
Hewitt,
John?
John?
Here.
Yea or nay?
Nay.
thank you, Venturini,
Nay.
Doxy,
Nay.
Bhatia.
Nay. Okay,
So the motion to table fails.
Motion to
Does anyone
table
want to make a motion on
fails.
the
Now we
ordinance?
need a motion to, what's the motion going to be to?
Anyone on the board can make a motion on the ordinance.
Nancy? you
Make a
want-
motion to deny the ordinance as it so stands.
Okay. Is there a second?
We have a motion and we have a second. So by doing that, again, it'll go back to the developer and see, hopefully they come back with
Well,
a.
you got to
Got a
vote.
vote?
No, I'm just kind of adding my comment, before that we vote.
Also, before you take a vote, I just want to let everyone know, we have other items on the agenda. So if you're going to get up and leave, please go outside of the building because it's really loud when you talk back there still. So
Or
just-
go down the
Or
hallway.
yeah,
Down the
way
hall.
on the other
Yeah,
side
we
of
have
the
a lot
building,
more
please,
agenda
just so
to
we can
cover.
keep the business rolling.
Can they go in the other?
Roll call. Hold on.
Oh,
John did.
John, second.
so the
Roll call, please.
motion- The motion is to deny, so
Yes.
if I say aye, that means I want to deny it.
Correct. Yeah. Any other
Anastasio,
discussion? Any other comment? One last chance? If not, roll call, please.
Anastasio,
Aye.
Washburn,
Aye.
Hewitt,
Aye.
Venturini,
Aye.
Doxy,
Aye.
Bhatia.
Aye. Motion carries. So denied. Thank you, President.
I have a question. Are we morons?
I have a question there. Again, the process works. So I wanted to be clear that, for those who said the board has voted, no, the board did not vote. This is the process, and thank you for the comment. We move on to next item on the agenda.
If you stick around, I can talk to you.
That is a ordinance zoning map amendment again for item 1B, which is for the
Yes,
ZMA
Mr. Chairman.
3909 Northwestern Avenue zoning map amendment, ZMA-23-11. And again, alert the people.
I'm gonna take a minute and let the room clear, because no one's listening.
I was going to say that.
Or,
As soon as the room is cleared,
How about a few-minute break?
Restroom for
we'll
someone.
take 5-minute break and we'll come back and we'll start the public hearing process again for the next item. we are back, and I'm going to start with the public hearing on item G1B on the 3909 Northwestern Avenue zoning map amendment ZMA-23-11. And again, as I explained earlier, the rules apply the same. I have received
We can't close the doors, unfortunately.
We can close the doors, sir. It's an open meeting.
We cannot close the doors.
It's an open meeting, yeah. But I hope the people are there.
He's asking them to quiet down.
I have received comments from 4 people, and again, I'm going to invite you to speak for or against this ordinance. Anything else? The public comments are done, and if you are here for the next ordinance, then we'll invite you at that time. So with that, the first one I have is, I'm sorry? I'm sorry, Sam?
Do you want me to read the executive summary?
Yes, please. My apologies, because...
No, you're good.
Okay. Yeah.
Trustees, Mr. Spodek requested to amend the zoning map for 5 parcels between Hanlon Drive and County Trunk Highway MM along Northwestern Avenue, which is Wisconsin State Trunk Highway 38. The applicant plans to fix up and lease the building to tenants. In the long run, the applicant wishes to redevelop the properties. The village staff believe the C2 district properly balances the property's location along a state trunk highway with the adjacent residential neighborhood. As a note, this entire property is under a sewer moratorium, so they are prohibited from any new sanitary sewer connections. So while you could approve the zoning tonight, and both the village staff and the plan commission recommended approval of that zoning, functionally, the applicant is going to be limited to the structures on site until that sewer moratorium is lifted. There is no timeline to lift that sewer moratorium. So it could be 6 months or it could be years. And I would say the latter is more likely than the former. So
Sam, make sure we know that where the sewer moratorium comes from.
Sure. The sewer moratorium is placed on the village by the City of Racine Utilities due to clear water infiltration into the shared sewer system. This is an area of the village that's up against the City of Racine, so many of these pipes drain to the city system directly as opposed to some of the other parts of the village. And therefore, this specific area had too much flow into the city system. Therefore, they placed a moratorium for new development on this property, which is allowed under some intergovernmental agreements between the City of Racine and the Village of Mount Pleasant. So, that said, the property owner has applied to amend the existing zoning, which is low-intensity commercial, and RL1 to all C2, which is moderate-intensity commercial. The C2 district accommodates moderate-intensity commercial, low-intensity manufacturing, and upper-story residential uses. The village intends the C2 district to support those local uses within small nodes or along local corridors. That is to say, the C2 district is meant to be kind of that buffer between a residential and a commercial area. The C1 zoning, the lower, we just got done talking about lower zoning intensities. The C1 zoning is really meant to be commercial that is within neighborhoods. So think like your corner store that's completely surrounded by residential or something. This, due to its proximity against the state trunk highway, we feel like C2 is more appropriate than that C1 zoning. But again, reminder, functionally, nothing on this property can change due to that sewer moratorium. The applicant does have a potential user for the property. There have been numerous municipal complaints and citations against the property over the past, so we're pleased that the property owner has done a lot to clean up the property, and we believe that getting the zoning approved and a tenant in that building kind of solves the short to medium term solution for this property. The corner is difficult to occupy. It's seen other people look at buying the property in the past, but due to both the moratorium and the kind of adjacent uses, it's been a little bit tough. But we believe the amended zoning district should help keep tenants within the property and it well kept over the long run. As I said, neither the village staff nor the plan commission recommend any conditions for approval, and both the village staff and the plan commission recommend that the village board moves to approve ordinance 30-2023.
Thank you, Sam. So now we start the public hearing, and the first person I am going to recognize is Walter Winterly.
Bet you didn't think you were going to have to wait that long.
And sir, please again your name, address, and the municipality.
Yes, my name is Walter Winterly. I live at 2617 Hanlon Drive. It's in Mount Pleasant. I live at the very end, but the only thing is I'm concerned about is what the corner lot is going to be. I'm against it being that corner lot being zoned commercial because it's very difficult to get out on Northwestern Avenue in the morning or during rush hour period. You got to be very careful, and I'm kind of concerned what would be built on that property. We don't need convenience stores or anything like that. So, with all due respect, I'd like to have a little bit more information. There's Mr. Spodek has fixed up the property tremendously. There was a Quonset hut, collapsed, it was gone in the spring. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next is Ed Burgess. Is there Burgess or
Again, my name is Ed Burgess. I've lived at 2717 Hanlon Drive for 46 years. This is the first I'm hearing of rezoning. And I didn't even get a notice for this meeting tonight. I had to find out from my neighbors and a placard placed on the lot. Mr. Spodek has been a good neighbor since he bought it. If he wants to keep it the way it is, he has a potential renter for that building. Give him the zoning he needs for that building, but don't change that whole. You're just giving him a windfall if you change that whole face of 38. That's I don't want a Quickie Mart next to my house. I've been there for 46 years. I've paid my taxes, and the guy that was in there before with the junkyard, I think I paid more in property taxes than he did on 5 times the property. So, please take care of us.
Thank you. Ronald Kodas. Ron Kodas.
3 minutes.
3 minutes, sir.
My name is Ronald Curtis. I live at 2709 Hanlon Drive. I want to thank Mr. Spodek for cleaning up that one spot at 3909 Northwestern Avenue. That was great, but I'm totally against this rezoning all 5 parcels. Okay, for one, I don't think the board should have the vote to change 5 parcels for somebody to sell to another developer and you don't know what's going to be, okay? Since there is no plans to develop the parcel and the developer has not been identified, there can be no determination as to true impact that would be imposed by the zoning change. The rezoning of this property can always take place after the sale that has been referred to by Mr. Spodek. The village does not need to engage in bettering somebody else's financial position or runs afoul of a surrounding resident uses whether actually or perceived, okay? If the rezoning is necessary to make the proposal or identified tenant viable, what I'm saying is I don't want that, you shouldn't have to rezone all 5 parcels to one, there's no reason for it, okay? What's the intent for the board to approve this, okay? I live on a dead-end street. My grandkids go out and play on this dead-end street. These neighbors lived there a long time, okay? So what's gonna happen to that corner parcel on Hanlon Drive that they're gonna change, okay, to commercial, are they gonna exit out, whatever developer comes in there? We don't even know what the plans are. You don't even know what the plans are. You're just gonna say, yes, give them the 5, approve it, but we don't even know what it is. It's no different with all that crew that you just, all the neighbors that came in here just like now. You had the same thing. The developer didn't have the plan, right? And you guys agreed on it. It's the same principle here as what you just had. So when you vote for these 5 parcels, it's no different what you voted just recently. Okay? So you really consider that. And besides that, the Hanlon Drive, it's a nice neighborhood. It's a dead-end street. We don't want any little malls or changing or anything like that, because once he sells it, he's done. That's great, you got it rented. I appreciate it. You did a great job for the one lot. That's great. Change that one lot for him. Let him rent it out.
Thank you, sir.
But the rest of them, no.
Thank you very much. Cheryl Kodas?
Wow, I'm short. My name is Cheryl Curtis. I live at 2709 Hanlon Drive. My husband Ron just spoke, and I ditto to everything he said. However, we bought that house it's going to be 25 years ago, specifically because it was a dead-end street. However, if you change this coding, these ordinances, and they can put something else there, whether it's a little strip mall, I don't think it's going to do like a gas station or anything, but just corner store, whatever, I don't think there's a need for it. You have a Piggly Wiggly, a Pick and Save, you have gas stations all around, Northwestern, the Quick Trip, all these. I mean, Mr. Spodek, thank you very much for, fixing up Jack's old place. And like you guys said, there had been numerous complaints made against it, but you never did anything. So that goes to show to me that you truly did not have the voters who put you in at heart, because it's not your neighborhood. It's not next to your house. How many of you want this in your house, in your backyard? And as for the dead-end street, we have enough idiots as it is that cannot read that it's not an exiting street, that it's a dead-end street. So we have to flag people down. I have to put signs out that there are children. I have to sit at the end of my driveway to keep my grandchildren from getting hit now. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like if you put something on those partials. Someone will get killed. Someone will be hit, and it will be on your hands. Because as it is, we have enough idiot drivers out there coming down a street that's a dead end, okay? Number 2, if you put something there, I can guarantee you traffic is only going to be worse, because how many idiots are going to do, I want to get to that corner spot, so let's pop a U-ey right there in front of Hanlon Drive. And I don't care if you put a no U-turn sign. We can tell by the accident that was just on Green Bay Road by Red Lobster today that whipped over an SUV and a minivan, because speed limit is 35 miles an hour. You tell me what vehicle you can flip at 35 miles an hour. So yeah, I see a traffic issue. I see a safety issue. As it is, I don't want some place that can be robbed over there. I don't want a little mini store, a little a hamburger shop, whatever, a sandwich shop or anything put in there. As it is, we have enough issues with that hotel that was fixed up. But they have police over there all the time. My neighbor, her granddaughter, boyfriend was a druggie and was running over there. We would literally watch him leave their house across the street to run to that hotel, which is still a drug house. I cannot imagine if you put something that can be robbed in that area, what my safety, what my grandkids' safety, my children's safety is going to be like. And I ask you, would you put this in your neighborhood? Do you want this on the corner of your street, any of you? And what purpose is it to put anything else there? The congestion, as it is a safety issue at 38 and M&M. How could you put anything there of a gas station, a convenience store, a mini mart, any of that there? It's just not feasible. And if you look at that and you tell me you can, then I know you're lining your own pockets and you're not thinking about the homeowners. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, I don't have anyone else signed up to speak. Last call. Anyone speak for or against this ordinance? Please come to the podium.
Everyone has your email.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
yeah, we have your email. I mean,
Does Mr. Spadek
that's
wanna
part of
talk?
this public hearing. There's,
It's no offense to you, but you don't live in our neighborhood. So when you sell and you leave, and your kids get your money, it's nothing to you.
we have one more gentleman who wants to speak, so he's filling the form. Yes, please. Name, address, and municipality.
Hi, my name is Oriol Ferrer, 2631 Hanlon Drive, Mount Pleasant. The only point that I have is like, is this normal that people apply to change a zoning without having a plan for it? Is this something that happens? Is this something that people do? Because in the previous one, you had a developer with a plan. Here, we have no plan at all. So I don't think you should change a regulation without having a plan on what you're gonna be doing. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Last call on this? Okay, we have two more hands up. Please come and then fill the forms in the end.
My name is Mindy Cruz, and I live at 2631 Hanlon Drive. And I just wanted to say that this may seem like a very small protest for Hanlon Drive, but we're only 8 houses. And I agree with all of my neighbors, and I am against the commercial change for all 5.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please fill the form before you leave. Sir, there was one more hand up.
Hi, I'm Jim Spodek. I own the property. I think there's concerns here that aren't going to happen. I mean, it's a corner lot. I don't believe that that corner lot's ever going to have a grocery store or a convenience store on it. My family's owned the house on the corner for my dad and my grandfather built that house when my dad came home in the Second World War. So it's been in our family for 75 years. I bought the property next door because Jack fell ill and the property went into disrepair, and the daughters asked me if I'd be interested in it. He had it for sale. All these concerns would have been brought up, I'm sure, if any developer came along there. I bought the property to protect part of my property. You know, my plan was to fix it up because I've got a plumber that wants to rent the building. To zone the entire lot makes sense to me. First off, it cost me $1,000 to get in here. And you know, I don't think, I've got a sewer moratorium. I may be dead before that sewer ever gets straightened out with the city. So I don't think there's any, I think you'll all be dead, you know? I mean, well, there's no guarantees in life. Well, I think it has to come to Mount Pleasant. I'm not trying to...
Sir, ma'am, I apologize, but this is his time. Please speak.
So I'm not trying to develop it. I'm not going to develop it. I can't develop it. I've been under a moratorium already for a number of years. I've had opportunities to sell the property, the house property, and they were unable to develop. So I'm still... I'm just going to rent it out to the plumbing and keep the house rented. And I think there's 14,000 cars a day that go past that property, 26,000 on the corner. I mean, it's a commercial property. I mean, it's just, there's no other way to look at that. So
I appreciate the concerns, but, I mean, I've been there, and I am actually a neighbor, to tell you the truth. I did live across the street, so, anyway, I just wanted to kind of clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else who has not yet spoken? If not, no, I'm sorry, I got to follow the process, so respectfully, I can't do that. Thank you, sir. With that, we are going to close the public hearing portion of this, and we need a motion, and the board will do the deliberations, and I'm looking for a motion on the ordinance 30-2023.
Trustee Boccia, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 30-2023 for a zoning map amendment for 3909 Northwestern Avenue as presented.
Second.
We have motion and a second. Now is the time for the board. Anyone?
Okay, I have a question for Sam. So, Mr. Spodek has stated that he wants to rent this to a plumber. And he can't rent this, I'm just assuming now, he can't rent this to a plumber unless we make this zoning change.
Yeah.
So he's gonna rent it out to a small plumbing business? Is this, like, how many trucks are they gonna have?
They would be limited to their current paved parking area. If they came in to expand the parking area or add trucks or anything, they'd have to go through the site plan process and expand the parking
Okay.
area and expand the screening and all
So
that
to
kind of stuff.
expand, they'd have to
So
come
it
back through the
basically gets to stay exactly the way it is. If there's any improvements to the property, they'll need to bring those improved areas up to the current village standard. Something, as we talked about the last, there are strict screening requirements between commercial and residential properties, particularly for parking areas, trash enclosure areas, all that kind of stuff, so.
And at this point in time, that structure sits empty, unused?
It has been unused in the past, yeah.
Okay.
Jim?
Currently, it's C1, it's commercial.
Correct. For a portion of it, and then the rest is residential, correct.
So the only difference is going to C2 would be a moderate intensity. What does, they mentioned a number of times about having a convenience store there. I mean, currently, there could be a convenience store, correct?
Yeah, it would be limited in size, it would be, but you could do, currently on that property, for a portion of it at least, you could build a convenience store on the first floor and apartments on the second floor. That said, none of that's possible because it's under a sewer moratorium, but theoretically, under the zoning, it would allow that. The C2 zoning district does cap specific uses. It's really meant for like walkable commercial. So think like you're gonna walk down the street to a flower shop or a corner coffee shop. It's not like your Starbucks has a double drive-through kind of coffee shop. It's like one person sits and pours shots of espresso out of like a revitalized home kind of coffee shop. So it's really meant to be like that commercial that's adjacent and walkable to neighborhoods. We limit the number of drive-throughs that could be on the property. We limit lighting. There's landscaping screening requirements for it. So I think, the way the village looked at it, and it is, as Mr. Spodek described, on one side you have a residential neighborhood, but on the other side you have literally tens of thousands of cars a day. So how do you balance that? We think that C2 district is the answer for it in the long run.
Anyone else? Okay. We don't, I'm sorry, sir. Now is the time for the board to do the deliberations. Okay, unless we have any comment, I'm going to call the vote. Roll call, please.
Anastasio?
Aye.
Washburn?
Aye.
Hewitt?
Aye.
Venturini?
Aye.
Doxy?
Aye.
Bhatia?
Aye. The motion carries. Okay. Moving on, the next item is public hearing on the Spring Street zoning map amendment ZMA-23-12. Public hearing ordinance regarding 31-2023. And again, we are going to follow the same process. Sam, you want to take it from here?
Trustees, John Kuhn from Berkey requested permission to amend the zoning map for a parcel of land along Spring Street and the frontage road from AG2 to C3. That's high-intensity commercial. The application is on behalf of the landowner who wishes to prepare the land for sale. The comprehensive plan recommends mixed business park commercial development for the property. The property currently lies within tax incremental district number 7. C3 district accommodates high-intensity commercial, moderate-intensity manufacturing, and upper-story residential uses. The village intends C3 district to support these regional uses connected within large nodes and along regional commercial corridors. Both the Plan Commission and the Village Board recommended approval of the subject property, and this is also in relation to the Educators Credit Union Development Agreement later on the agenda. It's same subject property. Right now it's zoned ag. So this one's pretty straightforward.
Thank you, Sam. Now we start the public hearing portion of the agenda on ordinance 30-2023. No, ordinance 31-2023. I don't have anyone signed up. Is there anyone here who wants to speak in favor or against? Going twice. Anyone wish to speak in favor or against ordinance 31-2023, Spring Street zoning amendment? Going 3, hearing none, we close the public hearing on this ordinance, and I'm looking for a motion.
Trustee Baccia, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 31-2023 for a zoning map amendment for Spring Street as presented.
Second.
We have motion and a second. Any other question or discussion from the board? Hearing none? I'm sorry.
Just that we did discuss this at length at the Plan Commission, and I'm really excited. These are difficult parcels, and I think that we have a great developer behind it and a super use, and I think it's gonna be beautiful, a beautiful addition and look along our frontage road, and so therefore, obviously, I'm obviously in favor.
I'm on the planning commission, and I echo everything that Trustee Washburn has expressed, and I think it'll be a good one. So with that, roll call, please.
Anastasio? Aye. Washburn?
Aye.
Hewitt?
Aye.
Venturini?
Aye.
Doxy?
Aye.
Baccia?
Aye. Motion carries. Item G, D as in David. Discussion and possible action regarding development agreement with Educators Credit Union pertaining to the construction of his new headquarters. Sam?
Trustees, this is a development agreement we've discussed under closed session, and both the CDA earlier this evening recommended its approval to you all. Pretty simple agreement as far as our agreements go. The Educators is agreeing to build a new headquarters building. It's a 3 to 3.5 story building along the frontage road. That'll be at Plan Commission next week. In agreement to that, the village will provide Educators water service to the property, which it currently does not exist. And it's a pretty significant water project to undertake. The village was also contemplating some sewer projects for a different area in the TID, so us taking over the project allows us to kind of consolidate that control and co-bid multiple different projects together instead of having multiple different contractors out there doing multiple different things like 10 feet away from each other. So in agreement to us financing that water main extension, Educators Credit Union has agreed to essentially backstop our bond payments for the water portion of the site, which they require, or the water portion of the financing, which they require. So if any year the TID is not open, after a 3-year kind of construction and capitalized interest term, They will, if their taxes do not pay the village's portion of the water financing, we would send them a makeup payment for the difference in that cost. As of now, we project that everything will even out and be good in TID 7, but if that were ever the case, that is what the agreement contemplates. So essentially, they are agreeing to backstop the financing of the water main extension. Sometimes it's easy to write a development agreement with a credit union.
Thank you, Sam.
We will send them a makeup payment invoice. Sam said we will send them a makeup payment, which
Oh, yes,
they will be
invoice.
sending
Yeah,
us
not the
a makeup
payment. We're the ones receiving the payment. Sorry. We're sending them the invoice.
Thank you, Chris.
Good catch.
Looking for a motion?
Didn't I just make a motion?
That was the,
No,
that was the last one.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right, I'm sorry.
getting late.
Okay, apologize for the long night. I make a motion to approve a developer's agreement with Educators Credit Union pertaining to the construction of their beautiful new headquarters.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by trustee Hewitt. Any other comment, concern from the board? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Anastasio,
Aye.
Washburn,
Aye.
Hewitt,
Aye.
Venturini,
Aye.
Doxy,
Aye.
Bhatia.
Aye, motion carries. Last item under this, GE, discussion of possible motion regarding development agreement with CCM Jaramillo LLC. Again, your overview, please, Sam.
Trustees, this is an agreement for the Hall property that's north of Braun Road. It's about a quarter-mile northwest of the existing fiduciary apartment project at the corner of Braun and 31 to orient yourselves. What this agreement does with CCM Jaramillo is the village will, number one, agree to construct a sewer extension from the existing terminus in the Pike River corridor east along Braun Road that will serve the property east. From the Pike River on the west to the east is where we're extending it from. Either way, but that's the way it'll be built. So. And then, secondly, the village is agreeing to loan them the sum of money contemplated in the agreement, which is $3,750,000. I'm pulling that right, Chris?
sounds right.
Okay, sorry, I lost my spot.
That's correct.
Thank you. $3,750,000. To acquire the property. In consideration of that loan, which is a short-term loan, the village receives a first non-subordinatable mortgage against the property. So when the applicant comes to develop the property, which they're required to do in 2 years, their construction loan will pay off the village's mortgage. They can't get any other financing against the property. If they were to default, the village, per usual mortgage, would just own the property outright. The developer is also agreeing to scaled up over time about a $70 million development, which constitutes 600 multifamily units across what they're projecting now, a variety of styles. It's 60 acres of land that will eventually reach about $70 million in value. They'll plan to construct that in 2 phases, which is outlined in the agreement, so 2 300 unit phases. So with that, that is the long and short of this one.
Thank you again. And again, looking for a motion. Last motion, Nancy.
Trustee Bhatia, I'd like to make a motion to approve a development agreement with CCM-Jaramillo LLC as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comment, questions, concern from the board?
You know, I do have a comment and a couple of comments. One is that as opposed to the old Green Bay Road project that we just listened to, this is a rental project, I believe. Isn't that correct? But it's in the right location, right? It seems to be better situated. It doesn't have the neighbors that are there to, you know, be up against single family. And we also have a local and very quality developer. So that's another thing that I think is really exciting about this, being able to continue to expand in that corridor along Brown Road, I think is very important. And I do hope at some point we'll be looking at what to do with Brown Road. My biggest question is over, it's a mess, what are we gonna do, and whose jurisdiction, but that is obviously not this developer's concern, so. But that's all, thank you.
Again, I echo again, we were at the planning commission and we had a discussion, and it's a good development at the right place, so I don't have any problem or comment, and so I guess with that, roll call, please.
Anastasio?
Aye.
Washburn?
Aye.
Hewitt?
Aye.
Venturini?
Aye.
Doxy?
Aye.
Bhatia?
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to the item 2, now we're going to be talking about the licenses. And number 1 is a discussion and possible motion regarding a new Class A beer license for Mead Food and Liquor located at 2145 Mead Street, Harismaran, Daliwal. Before we go on that, I'm going to ask Jill to make some comment, because at the last board meeting, we approved a liquor license for this, and why is the beer on the agenda? So if you don't mind, please.
Correct. At your last meeting, we did approve a liquor license. The way it was agenda'd only allowed for a Class A liquor license to be issued, not a Class A beer license. Upon the conclusion of that meeting, I did speak with the state representative that drew that to our attention and indicated that we could not issue a Class a Class A license because it wasn't agenda'd that way. So I had communication with him. The email is in your packet, includes additional comments regarding the particular establishment that is applying for this Class A beer license.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. And we did get the email, yes.
Okay. I'm looking for a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I make a motion to approve a new Class A beer license for Mead Food and Liquor located at 2145 Mead Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comment, concern, question from the board?
Yeah, I am still against them having a license because we have the same owner, different front man. And I think it's a bad idea to allow them to have a liquor license or a beer license considering the history of the place. So I'm still gonna be a nay on this.
Yeah, and I would agree with trustee Doxy. I think this is an opportunity to reconsider. You know, I was against it before and I'm against it now. I don't think there's a need. We did have a woman here tonight who represents obviously a very small portion, but that's the other side of the argument. That neighborhood is perfect for a nice delicatessen, food store, whatever it might be. There's no need for this impact of a liquor store that has a reputation that's been rated. The fact that we're letting it happen again is beyond me. So, yeah, I would not be in support of this.
As mentioned earlier also, they brought in a group of people that were pro them having their liquor license back. And what we see on the minutes from that meeting, 11 of those people that came in, 11 of the speakers out of the 14 were from Racine and not from Mount Pleasant. So that they didn't even represent a sample of Mount Pleasant. It was all Racine, other than 3 people that were in speaking for the liquor store.
In response to that, I believe that those individuals came in because they had experience with this same owner's properties that he operates at other places. And so I think they were speaking to the fact that his other places have operated and have not caused a negative impact on the neighborhood. So I think that the fact that they weren't from Mount Pleasant wasn't necessarily a bad thing. And I'm going to continue to support this. I think that after the last meeting, I think that we feel I want to give these owners an opportunity to show that they can operate this without having the issues that the previous operator had. And I'm hoping that, I don't know if we can do that, if that is something that should be done as part of the motion, but to have a contingency about the hours or.
Unfortunately, we can't.
Okay.
You can't put contingencies on a license, so.
Jim, you have some comments?
Yeah, I think the other thing that really was bothersome as well is that Chief Sones was against us approving this liquor license because of the history that happened in the past over there. And I realize it's a different management this time, but it's the same ownership. And our chief is telling us, don't do this. That the neighborhood has been quiet and a pleasant place to live and visit, and we didn't listen to that.
I think that all of us would prefer that it be a delicatessen, a food store, and not so much emphasis on the liquor. But I also recognize that having a small grocery store is probably not going to be, I mean, I never ran a small business, so I can't say, but I presume that running a small business and making a profit, or even a small profit, is probably not easy without something like the liquor that adds to, the profit, obviously. I mean, certainly I would think that any increased emphasis on things other than liquor and beer would be very welcome by the majority of the people who live around there, and certainly be very welcome by the police and by the village board.
One last comment. Just have to, and again, there's nothing personal whatsoever, right? Just my side of the argument. You mentioned profit. So the idea of putting profit before what's good for the neighborhood is what I hear. And that's bothersome again. So again, in the middle of downtown, there's a small little delicatessen that sells some groceries. I don't know how profitable they are, but the fact is they provide a service for downtown and they don't sell any liquor. So it can be done. It can be done. And this neighborhood does not need this. And we definitely shouldn't do it so they can have a profit.
Well,
Trustee Baccia, if I might.
yes,
I have a
please.
comment.
Yes, please.
So, question to the clerk, based on today and what we're voting on, if we were to deny the beer license, they still have their liquor license. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So, in my mind, when we debated this at the last meeting, I understood both sides of the argument, and I believe that at the end of the day, what really compelled me were the people in there who lived in the neighborhood, and there were some that lived in the neighborhood that came here, that wanted it to be there because it was a place for them to buy a gallon of milk. It was their little neighborhood grocery. I see no reason at this point to not approve the beer license because they have a liquor license. This, from day one, when we approved this at our previous meeting, this is for them to fail. So having said that, in response also, Jim, to your comment regarding profit, I think the problem we have in these little stores in these old neighborhoods is that, to a certain degree, as much as Sam, our planner, would like to see that we have coffee shops and ice cream shops and, all that kind of stuff, this particular type of business in some of these neighborhoods is almost obsolete. And I think that's where we have to really look at our zoning code and say, all right, if they're not going to have a business allowable in there that is going to be profitable, then obviously, from a trustee's position, that lowers the value of the property. And so now it's underperforming and it's not collecting taxes at the rate it should. So I think the argument can go a number of different ways. But at this point, based on the item before us tonight, they have the full license right now, and it's theirs to fail. And I guess I would ask the chief, since we granted that liquor license, have you had complaints? Have there been any tickets issued? Has there been any complaints to the village?
No, we haven't anything since then.
So you haven't even opened yet?
Well, hold on, sir. Normally we only allow public comment, but since it's a very issue that is kind of on the edge, I will make an exception and I'll let you speak for 2 minutes. Please go on the podium and your name and address and address the concern that many of the trustees or some of the boards have expressed, please, and the police chief's concern.
Yes, good evening. My name is Sukhvinder Negra. I own a couple of stores in the scene, and this is my building. I own the building too, and I lease somebody that don't know how to run the store. So they messed up everything. Over there, everything was going. I don't want to say any chief to say why they are not stopped. Only the scene police go to there and give them a ticket, not Mount Pleasant. You understand what I'm saying?
I guess the question I asked,
Yeah.
the question I asked was very simple. Have you opened since we gave you the
No,
original liquor license?
We are fixing all the cameras and everything in the store.
Okay.
Where we can put the shelving, all the shelving was not there. We are doing everything in that, with video cameras, everything, TV, putting on that. It should be new look on the store.
Good.
Yes, we are waiting for that.
Thank you.
Cash register with the ID, scanning without ID, like a Walgreens do that, without scanning.
Anything else you want to add to alleviate the concern?
Yeah. Excuse me?
Anything else you want to add to alleviate some of the concern?
Yeah, we are putting the food too in that, in the store, like fast food.
Good, like hot dogs and the kind of roller machines that
Yeah.
you see at Quick Trip and the microwave stuff.
Chicken place.
You know, it's gonna be basically a neighborhood store, not for those people who was, just hanging around over there. So it's gonna be basically a new thing, totally.
That's why we changed the timing 8 to 9, not 9 to midnight. So the neighbors can come only in the daytime, that's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's okay, thanks.
I'd like to add my comment before we have the vote is, the main thing is, like trustee Washburn and Anastasia said, they have the liquor license.
They have what?
They already have a license that we approve, liquor license. Not adding beer at this point in time, to me, doesn't alleviate any of the concern or makes no sense. I am also of the opinion that as much as we are very aware of what we heard from the police chief and the concern from the previous manager or the operator, it's your chance to prove that you are a good business, and it's your chance to prove, and when the time comes for the renewal, you are on watch. Since you already have a liquor license, not adding beer license, to me, it doesn't make any sense. So with that, unless somebody else has any comments, I'm going to ask for a vote, please. Roll call, please.
Anastasio?
Aye.
Washburn?
Aye.
Hewitt?
Aye.
Venturini?
Nay.
Doxy?
Nay.
Aye. The motion passes. Thank you.
So
Item
Joe
B.
Gleason's wrong. We do not always agree on everything.
No, again, I am always the opinion, you have discussion, you have the vote, you move on. Item B, discussion and possible motion regarding a new Class A liquor license and Class A beer license. Now here we have both, okay? For Studebaker LLC, located at 1250 North Green Bay Road, for Jane Studebaker, Harlan.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve a new Class A liquor license and a new Class A beer license for Studebaker's LLC, located at 1215 North Green Bay Road.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any other comment, concern, question? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Anastasio?
Aye.
Washburn?
Aye.
Hewitt?
Aye.
Venturini?
Aye.
Doxy?
Aye.
Batya?
You have to.
Aye.
That was my fault.
Item C, discussion and motion on a new non-intoxicating beverage license for Studebaker LLC located at 1250 North Green Bay Road.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve a new non-intoxicating beverage license for Studebakers LLC located at 1215 North Green Bay Road.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comment, question? Hearing none, I'm going to ask for a voicemail. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes. Item D, discussion and possible motion regarding new cigarette and tobacco products license for Studebaker LLC located at 1250 North Green Bay Road. I should have done that all together, but
Yeah.
let's just do that.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve a new cigarette and tobacco products license for Studebakers LLC located at 1215 North Green Bay Road.
Second.
We have motion and a second. Again, any question, discussion, comment? Hearing none. Voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hearing none. No. Motion carries. Item E, discussion and possible motion regarding a new massage establishment license for Seme foot and body massage located at 6015 Durand Avenue, Suite 400. Yang?
I make a motion to approve a new massage establishment license for Seme foot and body massage located at 6015 Durand Avenue, Suite 400.
Second.
Motion and second by trustee Washburn. Any comment, concern, question? Hearing none, all in favor?
After tonight's meeting, I could use a back massage.
I don't want to have it on the agenda with a back massage added, so please. I'm sorry. Do you have any question? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Last item on the motion under this item 2, discussion and possible motion regarding a change of agents at Piggly Wiggly, 5600 Spring Street, Victoria, Welch.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to a change of agent application for Piggly Wiggly located at 5600 Spring Street, Victoria, Welch.
Second.
We have motion and second. Any comment, question? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. And with that, I think we need one, okay, no. Does anyone has any comment from any other trustees? It's not on the agenda, but if you have anything.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have the motion to adjourn and second, but before we vote, I want to make a comment. It's going to be a snowstorm together tomorrow. Stay safe, stay warm. Wish you all the best. And with that, all in favor to go home, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Job, Chairman.